Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news. Desde Usala Radio, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital y, como de costumbre, tenemos titulares locales, nacionales y tal vez internacionales si nos queda tiempo. Bueno, en todo caso, comenzamos con aquí algo de nuestro patio, de locales, de esta región de Pensilvania, Filadelfia. Uno de los titulares que están corriendo hoy en día por todas partes, pues, porque es algo nacional, es el asunto de la investigación en cuanto a la insurrección del 6 de enero. So one of the items we have in the news, insurrection, investigation. And there's one sort of curious piece of news about what happened in Santa Fe while they were making a movie, and the actor and producer and director Alec Baldwin, apparently without knowing what he was doing, used a gun and killed one person and injured another one. So killed the cinematographer, a woman, and the director of the movie. So you can see, because it's not anything secret, you can see in the news the face of Baldwin in distress upon finding out what happened. It's one of those things. Apparently, they have all kinds of safety measures so that people don't use live ammunition when they are on a set of a movie. Usually those guns are supposed to shoot blanks. So nobody understands. So probably there'll be an investigation into this tragic event. So sorry for Alec Baldwin. His career has taken off, and he was doing Donald Trump for a while, and then he was also on television with the Johnny Rock. It's a television show that was apparently very, very funny. So it's tragic. It's one of those things that there will be people trying to explain what happened there, because that is not supposed to happen. The other thing is, and this is a key question in this business, why was there a gun loaded with real ammunition at all? Why? Why is there a television set in which obviously prop guns all over the place? Why would anybody have real ammunition? Well, a gun loaded to shoot bullets. I understand that there are checks and balances. I understand that there are people in charge of precisely of checking those guns to make sure that there's nothing that would hurt people. And yet it happened. And it's not the first time. I think it was the son of Bruce Lee. His son was also accidentally shot and killed on the set of a movie. So And those things that happen and completely unexplained, unexplainable. I mean, why? Why would anybody have a gun with real bullets on a set, which there are abundance of fake guns? So I'm sure somewhere along the way we'll find out. There'll be a report. I'm sure there'll be an investigation of the events and so on. It's sort of early to know. And initially, understandably, there was a reluctance on the part of the authorities, on the part of the people in charge of the movie, etc., to offer explanations to the media, and then some media members of the media complaining that there was no clarity and not enough information given, and so on. But given the fact that it was a tragic event, as opposed to, if you really want to know what happened and why it happened, let's look at the investigation of January 6th. Okay, there is something here that, well, it's not surprising that the Republican Party, the leaders of the Republican Party, Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, other figures like Lindsey Graham, Jim Jones, John Kennedy, that these people don't want to know anything about January 6th. They would prefer that that particular date would not be mentioned anywhere. The problem for them is that there's an abundance of video, an abundance of press coverage, an abundance of individuals who were involved in the insurrection, beginning with, not even the most important one, Rudy Giuliani. Somebody someday would explain what happened to Rudy Giuliani. That, I don't know, he seems to have lost his mind. Along the way, obviously, he lost his conscience. And what was he thinking? Was he hoping that by restoring Donald Trump to the presidency, because Giuliani played a pivotal role in selling the big lie around the country. Let's remember that he was going around the country with Sidney Powell, another lawyer who should be disbarred if she has not been yet. She should not be allowed to practice law anywhere. And they were going around the country. And let's remember one thing they were doing. To give their fake investigation an air of officialness, of being a real court procedure, to give it the appearance of being something serious, they were going around in hotel rooms or places they rented, pretending to hold hearings, pretending that there was a legal process taking place, when all they were doing was trying to sabotage the results of the 2020 election. Now we know more. I mean, those two individuals, their atrocious behavior should not be forgotten. But in some ways, they were playing minor roles, and that's why we're going to talk today extensively about what happened, because we are finding more and more credible information, easily verified because there is video. There is a record. We can see Giuliani, and we can see Powell, and we can see the members of the Trump government who participated in the insurrection, directly or indirectly. We can see them. We can see Josh Hawley. And we can hear, if there's no visual record, we can hear other members of the government supporting the big lie. Here's the key question for this country. Why, in what set, in what reality, in what world is Donald Trump a credible candidate? Let's remember, even after serving, so to speak, he didn't serve, but he was there, after being in the White House for 3 years. He had no platform to offer in his 4th year as he campaigned for the election in 2020 to become the nominee of the Republican Party. This man had no agenda. He could not offer the country any ideas as to what he would do. His only desire was to be reelected. His whole goal was to be reelected because he was afraid of 2 things. He was afraid of the consequences, legal consequences of not being the president and being followed by somebody like Bob Woodward interviewed him, and Trump could not explain at that point why he was not telling the country about the virus, about the real threat of the virus. So he was an absentee president to some extent, and especially after the election of November 2020, between November 3rd, 2020 and January 6th, Donald Trump did nothing except try to change the results, try to change the outcome of the election. His whole focus after November was to do that because he was completely not interested in saving the country from COVID, in helping the committee that was in charge of that. Remember his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, he put him in place in charge of that, and Pence. Trump did not attend any meetings after November 3rd. I don't know what meetings he attended, except meetings in which he was trying to sell the big lie and trying to get his people to go out into the world and lie to the courts, lie to the media, lie to the public about the results of the 2020 election. But this is all known. This is something that will be very difficult to deny because there is so much evidence. And yet, here we are. There are a few things that are mysteriously present at this point. The support of the Republican Party, apparently still a high percentage of Republicans want Trump to be president again. And the fact that as the investigation has progressed and it has become clear that there was an organized effort financed and supported by people who wanted Trump to remain in the White House. And that evidence has come to light. It cannot be denied. One of the facts is that there was a hotel, the Willard Hotel in Washington, that apparently was the headquarters of the insurrection. Apparently it was known as Command Center. And another aspect of this, which is also under investigation, should be investigated, is the fact that the insurrectionists used Facebook to communicate with each other. And then there was a memo written by a lawyer trying to justify the fact that Trump could challenge the results of the election. Memo that was written at Christmas time, and that the lawyer now says it was misinterpreted. There was no, okay, here's the point. There was no legal way for Trump to challenge the results of the 2020 election. There was no legal venue in which he could become president again. So all his efforts and the efforts of his people were dedicated to selling the big lie. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about that. There's a book by Woodward that just came out recently, also in relation to more insider information. So, no se vayan. Regresamos en un momento aquí en Usala Radio. Les habla Fernando Mendez. Dani Ramos controlando el tablero. Regresamos en un minuto. Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news. Señores oyentes de Usala Radio, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable. Desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital. Y estamos hablando, concentrando este programa el día de hoy sobre la insurrección. Porque ahora en español brevemente, un resumen de lo que hemos estado hablando, que hay pruebas suficientes, porque hay un libro de Bob Woodward, hay un par de libros, no solamente uno, que están plasmadas las declaraciones de varios individuos dentro de la administración que han estado hablando con este reportero, que es un hombre que ha hecho, llevó a cabo lo de Watergate y en esa misma vena informativa ha continuado informándonos. Y él fue el primero que nos hizo saber que Donald Trump ya tenía información sobre COVID, pero que él había decidido no decirle al público americano que COVID era una amenaza seria para nuestra salud, no solamente para la salud física, sino para la salud económica del país. Pero que Trump había decidido que él no quería asustar al público, no quería causar pánico. Esa fue la excusa. La realidad es que él temía que un virus mortal, en cierto sentido, podría ponerle fin a su administración. Y bueno, ya sabemos lo que él hizo en cuanto a eso. Que trató de cambiar el modo como el virus estaba esparciendo por todo el país, los remedios que existían en ese momento o posiblemente vendrían en el futuro. Y luego, pues, ha querido agarrar todo el crédito por las vacunas, que tampoco se le debe dar, porque las vacunas, los experimentos, la investigación sobre vacunas contra el COVID y manifestaciones similares de viruses ya existían. Lo que pasa fue que COVID impulsó el esfuerzo dentro de ciertas compañías como Moderna y Johnson Johnson, son las que habían decidido dedicar sus esfuerzos a encontrar una vacuna apropiada. Pero a él no se le puede dar crédito porque mintió, simplemente mintió y luego no nos dijo la verdad y luego hizo campaña en contra de las mascarillas, hizo campaña en contra de las vacunas, inclusive, hasta que, bueno, le agarró el virus y luego cuando le hicieron un tratamiento en el hospital en Washington, donde van los presidentes de Walter Reed, en el cual le dieron las drogas más experimentales, pero que se sabía o sabían los médicos que tendrían efectos positivos en contra del COVID. Eso, a él le dieron el tratamiento único, el número uno, los esfuerzos de los médicos para salvar a este presidente. No sé si ahora algunos de estos médicos podría revelar más en cuanto a la situación crítica en que se encontraba Trump. Pero no sé, probablemente los médicos juran servir al público y mantener ¿cómo se dice? La privacidad de los individuos, mantener esta información secreta para no revelar la situación real de un individuo en cuanto a su salud, especialmente el presidente. Así que probablemente nunca vamos a saber realmente qué pasó en cuanto a Trump. O si cuando lo lleguemos a saber, pues ya no tendrá ninguna importancia. En todo caso, lo que sí es evidente es que este presidente abandonó los esfuerzos en cuanto a COVID después de las elecciones presidenciales del 2020, después de noviembre. No se apareció por ninguna parte en cuanto a estos comités que están encargados de la salud. Lo único que había hecho era, a cierto punto, recordemos, a cierto punto trató de desacreditar a doctor Fauci. Quería realzar la imagen del médico que le había declarado que era un Superman, porque era lo único que se podía oír desde la Casa Blanca en cuanto a los médicos. Un médico que declaró que el presidente estaba en el mejor estado de salud que ningún otro presidente en la historia de esta nación, que es un reporte escrito de ese modo, declarando que Trump es prácticamente un Superman, que era el presidente en mejor estado físico en la historia del país. Es algo que simplemente salió de la pluma de Trump y que obligó a este médico a leer. Yo no recuerdo el nombre del médico, pero probablemente pasará a la historia como algo muy ridículo en cuanto a declaraciones. Algo así como el portavoz de Saddam Hussein. No sé si recuerden el portavoz de Saddam Hussein que estaba declarando que las tropas americanas estaban muriendo a las puertas de Bagdad, cuando en realidad las tropas americanas estaban ahí a las puertas del palacio, ya habían invadido a a Irak, que habían puesto fin al gobierno de Saddam Hussein, pero portavoz Ali, algo así, Ali, no recuerdo su nombre ahora tampoco, pero era un hombre que estaba haciendo declaraciones ridículas. Bueno, lo mismo ha sucedido en la Casa Blanca. No olvidemos que todos los portavoces del gobierno de Trump, todos los jefes de prensa del gobierno de Trump, se habían visto obligados a repetir mentiras. Y todos estos individuos, yo creo que no hubo ni uno de ellos que tuviera credibilidad o que hubiera dejado su puesto ufanándose de haber servido como secretario de prensa del gobierno de Donald Trump. Yo creo que están todos avergonzados de haber estado en una situación tal en que tenían que repetir mentiras, mentirle al público, descaradamente, con una cara seria diciendo las mentiras que Trump les obligaba a repetir. Bueno, eso cambió solamente cuando cambiamos de gobierno. Cuando llegó Jim Psaki a servir como portavoz del gobierno de Joe Biden. Pero otra vez, volviendo a esto de la investigación de la insurrección, lo que es evidente ahora es que fue algo bien organizado, bien financiado, enteramente comunicándose a través de social media. Todos estos individuos que llegaron a Washington ya sabían a qué venían. Y luego, pues, tenemos la evidencia innegable en estos videos, cuando Donald Trump incita a las gentes que se habían reunido allí a invadir el Capitolio. Lo mismo que hizo Rudy Giuliani, lo mismo que hizo Donald Trump Jr. Estaban incitando a estos individuos que ya estaban enardecidos, que habían llegado allí irritados porque les habían vendido la gran mentira, the big lie, que la elección había sido robada. Entonces, pues claro, estaban allí dispuestos a atacar el Capitolio porque querían cambiar el resultado de las elecciones. El único objetivo que tenían estas gentes era impedir que se hiciera un conteo oficial, que se registrara el hecho histórico de que Trump había perdido las elecciones del 2020 y que Mike Pence debía certificar. Y hay un gran video, una foto también, pero hay un video demostrando que luego de la invasión del Capitolio se ve entrar a Mike Pence otra vez en el recinto del Congreso y con las gentes que llevaban las cajas que contenían los resultados de los diferentes estados. Estaban llegando allí para certificar oficialmente el resultado de las elecciones. Y el objetivo que tenía el equipo de Trump era impedir el conteo. De ahí en que el hecho de que, como ya Trump había decidido que Mike Pence no servía para sus propósitos, que él había decidido que no le importaba qué le iba a pasar a Mike Pence. El único objetivo era detener ese proceso del conteo oficial. Bueno, amigos, vamos a continuar con esta conversación. Vamos a tomar una breve pausa aquí en Usala Radio. Les habla Fernando Mendez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital. Regresamos en un momento. Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news. Señores oyentes de Usala Radio, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital. Bueno, resulta que, entre otras cosas, pues estamos hablando de la insurrección y la investigación en todo esto. Pero hay otras noticias breves que quiero remarcar en este momento. Porque, bueno, the people who make things happen in Philadelphia, Philly Magazine has the rankings for the city's 76 most influential people who influence the culture, politics, business. And so the cover is Alan Sanford of the Black Doctors Consortium, who at number 4 follows Superintendent William Haidt. So these are important people in our city. And Comcast CEO Brian Roberts, obviously, he should be on anybody's list. And number 1, Kathleen Karachi, who, despite having been dismissed by Penn, developed the mRNA technology used in COVID vaccines. Other illustrious figures in this, Councilmember Maria Quiñones Sanchez, we're proud to report that. GOPA's founders, the sheriffs of South Philly, Barbacoa, FOP Chief John McNesby, and Inquirer columnist Inga Saffron. So these are the movers and shakers. Philadelphia is basically sort of a small town in many ways. You go to, you walk around downtown, you're likely to run into some of these people. I think one person who should be on that list, obviously, Rebecca Reinhardt, city controller. We're hoping that we can get her to come to Usala Radio in the near future. There are reports right now, in fact, from her office concerning the fact that the Kennedy administration drops behind in Hispanic, Black executive hires, and the mayor's department in Philadelphia hire 0 high-level Hispanic staff and many fewer Black executives last year, according to the city controller's report. Hispanic people are most underrepresented among non-civil service city employees. They make up 15% of the city's population, but just 7% of the Kennedy administration, and only 5% of those with salaries of $90,000 or higher. The drop in Black representation and stagnant Hispanic representation is disappointing, the city controller declared to Billy Penn News, Beatrice Foreman. So there we go. Again, because somehow we have failed over the decades to build a power base. Hispanics are underrepresented. There are some individuals, and I must highlight the fact that some of them have come out of Congreso and some of the other nonprofits, Hispanic nonprofits in the city. But for the most part, that they have reached certain positions in city government, but Hispanics are still, as the report says, underrepresented because we have not been able to build a solid foundation. Ken Trujillo used to speak of wealth creation in order to acquire power. So what comes first is like the chicken and the egg question. We should be able to be well represented if we can support our candidates. So which one comes first? If we don't have any power, we cannot access wealth. And if we don't have any wealth, we cannot access power. So it's one of those things. So power has been shared very sparingly through the years. There was at one point during the street administration in which the position of city, what was the position that Ken Trujillo, Pedro Ramos, Nelson Diaz, they occupied a position in the street administration, which seemed to promote Hispanics at that level. But after that, there was very little. And again, I think all this, the underrepresentation is due to the lack of power. We don't have the power to put people in positions of government. Right now, there was talk of Maria Quiñones becoming a candidate for mayor of Philadelphia. And perhaps that's developing right now. There's no guarantee that she will be able to win. I mean, it's a tough road ahead. One advantage is that she's a Democrat, and as we know, Republicans will never get elected to anything here. So, speaking of Republicans, our friend Drew Murray should come to our show to explain what's happening with the Republican Party in this city. We know what's happening in the state. They are dedicated, again, to selling the big lie. They are dedicated to changing how we vote. Wow, that's it's an effort. It's a national effort to affect the outcome of elections. Look, there was one salient fact in this whole thing about selling the big lie, that at some point, the Trump people wanted to do the following. They wanted to find a way to cancel the votes of the legally elected representatives that have been elected through the vote and change them so that, let's say, the Congress in Harrisburg could designate their own representatives, Pennsylvania's representatives, not the ones that had been elected through the vote, but sort of a slate of people that they were going to choose. And not only in Pennsylvania, they wanted to do the same thing in Wisconsin, in Arizona, in Texas, whatever they could accomplish that tremendous change, legal change. So let's not forget that that's an ongoing effort. Our democracy is truly threatened. Listen to this. Our democracy is really threatened at this point. This is no speculation. This is not something that we're inventing. It's in the news right now. It's in the headlines. Listen to the reports about Woodward, this new book that just came out. Listen to the reports of the Washington Post outlining how the Trump team had set up headquarters at the Willard Hotel in Washington, not far from the White House, probably able to walk back and forth between the White House and the Willard Hotel, where their command post was. So think about this. That was a determined, organized, financed effort that failed. But they have not given up. And they are going around the country, wherever they can, to try to do two things: to stop Black and Hispanic people from voting, and to even try to find a way to count the vote themselves, to control who counts the vote, to control the way the official vote is presented. So, watch out. That's what's happening right now. That's why, listen to us, that our democracy is truly in danger. We're going to take a brief pause in Usala Radio, la mesa redonda de Roundtable. Les habla Fernando Mendez. Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital. Regresamos en un minuto. Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But I get it, you're busy, and busy people can't have prediabetes. I read that wrong. They can, okay? Just go to the site.
Give me a count. Señoras y señores de Usala Radio, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Roundtable, desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Dani Ramos controlando la máquina digital. Well, this whole recent incident at a film studio in the desert in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in which the actor, director, producer Alec Baldwin shot two people with a gun that was supposed to be a fake gun. And that just brings to mind the abundance of weapons in this country. There are reports all over the place about the use of guns, the killings. Philadelphia has a record number of killings in 2020. New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Portland. It's not the kind of record that we want to see. And yet again, the Republican Party finds itself on the wrong side of the issue. Why? Well, this whole thing about misinterpreting the whole issue of a well-constituted militia has been misinterpreted. I think there should be some way, some means of correcting that ambiguity. That no militias formed by individuals like has happened with the Trump people, with the Proud Boys and the QAnon and all these horrendous groups. That they're outside the law. That should be illegal. People carrying automatic weapons, that should be illegal. The only weapons, if there are any, that should be allowed, should be for hunting. And nobody needs these high-power weapons to hunt. So that's the one thing that we would like to see in the future. It's like pie in the sky, though. I mean, right now, the environment in this country, the political environment, the divisions in this country are so deep, so entrenched on both sides that it will be very difficult to find common ground to deal with gun control. And it shouldn't come from extremists. I don't think that we want to see extremist views enacted into law on either side, from the left or from the right. We want to see sound policies. And gun control should be one of them. But guess what? The people who support Donald Trump, the people who invaded the Capitol, the people who organized the invasion of the Capitol, the insurrection of January 6th, they are not interested in gun control. Guaranteed. Republicans at this point can be identified for their support of no gun laws, their support of the insurrection, their support of the big lie, their support of discrimination. Remember that Trump, from the beginning, even before he became president, expressed racist views, that his first speeches attacked Hispanics, that at some point he spoke of having a national register for anybody who followed Islam. He believed all Muslims should register. Speaking of Nazi policies, how can that be contemplated in any way? And yet he expressed openly the belief that he could kill people and nothing would happen to him. He said he could shoot somebody in the middle of the street, in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and nothing would happen to him. I think he's probably right, because he didn't do it himself. But look, 5 people died in the invasion, in the insurrection, in the invasion of the Capitol. Tremendous damage to the national fiber, to our democracy, to our Constitution. He's killed people. He's responsible for the death of people, with or without a gun, because he also killed people by not taking the appropriate steps to fight COVID. So how can this man in any way be thinking that he could be president again. He was not qualified to begin with. He's less qualified now. He should be in prison now. I don't think Trump will see the inside of a prison for so many reasons. I remember when Gerald Ford, Vice President Gerald Ford, took over the presidency from Nixon, as Nixon flew on his helicopter in disgrace. And the Air Force One took him for the last trip to his retreat in San Clemente. I remember Gerald Ford said, "The national nightmare is over." Well, that nightmare came to an end. How about this present nightmare? How about the nightmare of 4 years of Trump? The nightmare of Trump trying to come back. The nightmare of people supporting Donald Trump and the invasion of the Capitol and destruction of our institutions. It would take this country more than a decade, more than 2 decades. It would take a long time for this country to restore credibility to the Justice Department. Remember that was one of the things that Trump was determined to do, to change, to use the Justice Department, to use Bill Barr as his personal lawyer. It will be a long time before we can believe the words from anybody coming from an official representative of the Justice Department. There's somebody there, Merrick Garland, who people respect more. But it will be a long time before all our institutions can be restored. And one of them, we are part of it, the media. It will be a long time before we come back to trust, as we did in previous generations. We had people that we could trust. We don't know. I mean, they were probably just human beings with tremendous flaws, but they inspired trust. Walter Cronkite, Roger Mudd, Brinkley. No, these people inspire trust. It will be a long time before we have anybody like that. Because one rotten man discredited the Justice Department, the diplomats who represent this country, the media, the courts. It's a great destruction of our system. So let's hope. There's always hope. That's the one thing that we have. Let's hope that change will come someday. Well, that has been Usala Radio, the Roundtable for today. Muchas gracias por su sintonía. Les habló Fernando Mendez. Dani Ramos controló la máquina digital. Los esperamos hasta la próxima. Greetings from the city of brotherly love. I am Fernando Mendez, host of the Roundtable. We invite you to listen to our discussion of the themes of the day when we bring you regional, national, and international news.